started. It's 1 minute after, and boy, do we have a fun cooking class today. I'm so excited. Hello, everyone. Welcome, Stern Kessler, to my kitchen. Tina McDermott here. And if you don't already know me, I would love to introduce myself super quick. Tina McDermott, health and wellness coach, 20 years now. I am the lazy inspirational chef. I'm a speaker, and I'm a weight loss coach, and so much more. Oh my gosh, I can go on and on with everything, but there's no place I'd rather be literally than right here in my kitchen, teaching you how you can live a life that's healthy, vibrant, and free of junk food and full of brownies. Yes, I'm so excited. We are making brownies today. And I'm not just making brownies. I'm making salmon, broiled salmon with asparagus, as well as a beet hummus. Who would have thunk of a beet hummus? I can't eat beans and I love hummus. So we're making a beet hummus as well. All right. So I'm going to ask, I want to know who's cooking with me and who's watching. Put cooking or watching in the chat. Put cooking or watching in the chat. I think Lauren's in her kitchen. She might be cooking today. So are you going to cook? Are you cooking or are you watching? It doesn't matter. You're trying to work. Troy, be with me 100%. We're going to find, look, I want you to watch. It's all good. You can cook later, but be with me. And just, I can't see your beautiful faces, but I can talk with you via the chat, okay? And this way I get to know, I can find your energy, or I can, get a little energy from y'all, because I can't see you, because I normally do this in person. All right, so we got a lot of people watching, and we've got Pamela. Okay, good, watching. A lot of people are watching, which is perfectly fine. Now, let's get started. You guys ready? Put 1 in the chat if you're ready, or 2 if you want me to wait and talk a little 5 more minutes before we get started. Put a 1 in the chat, or a 2 if you want me to just tell a joke. I don't know. Come on, let me see. I want to see. Tell a joke. I tell terrible jokes. I tell terrible jokes. Okay. I just want to keep you guys engaged. So I have to tell you, I grew up in an Italian neighborhood called Chambersburg in New Jersey. And there was this wonderful restaurant. By the way, my parents are off the boat Italian and first generation American. There's this wonderful restaurant called Chianti's that we would treat ourselves to all the time. Well, not all the time, once in a while. So I went there. I loved their tiramisu. Who loves tiramisu? Love tiramisu. It's the best dessert in the whole wide world, and this place made it wonderful. Had our whole meal. Okay, I'll have some tiramisu for dessert. They were out. So every other time I went there, I ordered the dessert first so that they wouldn't run out of this wonderful homemade tiramisu. Why am I saying all of this? Because we are starting today with making my favorite brownies. Avocado flourless brownies that, yes, they are super healthy and good for you. So you can have a brownie every once in a while, okay? I am a self-confessed chocoholic. Love chocolate, never want to live without it. Who else is a chocoholic? Tell a joke. I'm terrible at telling jokes. I'm terrible at telling jokes. But yeah, all right. Self-confessed chocoholic. Put chocoholic, if you can spell it, in the chat. Or put me, like you just did. Now, did you see what I just did? I cracked my eggs in a separate little bowl. Why did I do that? Does anybody know why I did that? Anybody know why I did that? I did that because what if that egg was bad? Then everything else that's in my bowl is going to go bad, and I have to throw the whole thing out. And it happens every once in a blue moon. You get a bad egg, and you don't want to ruin all of your expensive ingredients in here. And also, the other thing I want you to note is my egg yolks are very orange because they're grass-fed, grass-finished. That's what we want. For real chickens, happy chickens lay happy eggs. You remember that, okay? If they're 99-cent eggs store-bought, they're not very happy chickens, and their yolks will be this bright yellow. That means they don't have any omega-3 fatty acids in them. They don't have the natural stuff that eggs are supposed to have, the B vitamins, okay? So eggs, really important. Next ingredient I'm going to use is melted coconut oil, okay? Yes, I buy it in a huge container. It's antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal. We want immune boosting properties right now in our life. coconut oil. Use it on a daily basis. Now, it comes out of the container hard because it's a saturated fat that's good for you. So I'll show you, it's very hard. See if you can go close up there and you can see how hard the coconut oil is. And what I do is I just get these chunks and I put them in this metal container and I heat it up over the stovetop. Why? Because if I microwave my coconut oil, the microwave is going to destroy some of the good components of that oil, and we don't want that. We want all of the good components of that coconut oil in our bodies, heated up on the stovetop, metal little container. Good tip? I think so. I think so. So we've got our coconut oil in there. Next, I'm calling them avocado brownies, right? You don't have to do avocado. Who here loves avocado? If you love avocado, put 1 in the chat. If you hate avocado, put 2 in the chat because I want to convert you. If you hate avocado, I want to convert you. Put 1 if you love, 2 if you don't love. Now, here's the issue. I don't have any, I didn't think I had any ripe avocados. And because I ate half of one yesterday because I love avocados, and I stored it in the refrigerator without the pit. If I'd have stored it in the refrigerator in my container with the pit, I wouldn't get all of this black stuff here, okay? So just note to self, store your avocados if you've opened them with the pit. And so I may only have a half an avocado to throw in here, but I found some other avocados in my drawer. See, here's the thing. I bought, except for that one that I ate half of yesterday. I have made these brownies without avocado at all, and I just used more peanut butter or almond butter. So just note to self, if you don't have avocados, don't stress. You can put more of the nut butter in there. Now, I said I found a couple of avocados in my drawer that I may have forgotten about, and they feel mushy. They feel a little on the ripe. Nobody hates avocados. Good. I'm so glad that you guys really like avocado. So you see that that's how I score my avocado, and then you twist it, and it's black inside, so we're not going to use that. Nope, and nope. I don't have a lot of high hopes for this one, but let's give it a try anyway. So, you know, life is not perfect. Life is a little on the messy side. So if you don't have avocado, don't worry about it. But look at that. It's a beautiful avocado. So we are going to use, excuse me, this gorgeous avocado. It's about 3/4 cup of an avocado, and if most of you know me, you will know that I don't measure that much because it doesn't really matter. Now, there are a lot of bakers who will not agree with me, and I'm okay with that. Excuse me a second. I'm okay with that if you don't agree with me, because this is the way that I bake, this is the way that I cook, without a ton of measurements. Sometimes I do measure, sometimes, every once in a blue moon, you just might. Thank you. So now we've got our eggs. You want your eggs to be room temperature, okay? Room temperature, not frozen, because if they're cold, then the coconut oil will harden up. Your coconut oil, you also don't want that to be hot, because if it's too hot, it will cook the egg. So heat it up on the stovetop, let it sit for a little bit, and then use it. Take the eggs out about a half an hour in advance, even up to an hour in advance. So sorry, don't know what the heck was going on with my throat. But again, Lauren, I appreciate you. Next, we're going to put a little bit of peanut butter in here. And a note about peanut butter. I want you to be very careful with your peanut butter and make sure that you read the label, because even though it's organic peanut butter, they still sneak sugar in it. And I don't understand why you need sugar in peanuts. Peanuts are delicious, and they are almost sweet on their own. Unless you're addicted to sugar, then nothing's sweet unless you have a ton of sugar. And so I'm going to put, the recipe says, here it is. So the recipe says 3 to 4 tablespoons of some peanut butter or almond butter or cashew butter. If you are allergic to any of those, try sun butter. Sunflower seed butter, called sun butter. Try that, okay? Now, again, I didn't measure. I typically don't measure, but that it's like 3-4 tablespoons. I have made this with a lot more, so I'm going to put a little bit more in there. People think I'm crazy. Like, Tina, why don't you measure? Because I can kind of get it with my brain. Growing up, my mom didn't have a lot of measuring spoons or couldn't find them, and we didn't have a lot of extracurricular tools, right? We didn't have a lot of tools. And because my mom didn't grow up with a whole bunch of tools either. She grew up on a farm with dirt floors. And so I learned to just kind of throw it in. Like she would say, butaju. Butaju means throw it in, throw it in. So that's what I do. I just throw it in. All right, next we're going to do a little bit of baking soda. Yes, this is the one that you put down your drain, baking soda. And just a little bit of that. I like pretty jars, so I put everything in, most everything in jars. So a little bit of baking soda, a little bit of, now my recipe doesn't call for baking powder, but I've done some experimenting with this recipe and I actually like to put a little bit of baking powder in this one too. So I put a teaspoon of baking powder. So you can alter the recipe if you'd like or not, it's all good. I'm gonna put a teaspoon of vanilla. Now, I love maple. I love maple syrup. I love maple flavor. I love maple everything. You could put a little bit of maple syrup in here because remember, the world is your oyster. You can put whatever you want in there. Next, they are called chocolate, they're brownies, and they need some chocolate. You can easily get some Hershey's cocoa powder. Easily get that. But if you have the opportunity to go to My Organic Market or go online and find Nutiva's cocoa powder, delightful. It is delightful and will make a difference with your brownies. Again, the Hershey's chocolate is fine. It works beautifully. This is just luscious. Absolutely luscious. All right, what's next? We're going to do a little bit of salt. And what kind of salt do I use? Does anybody know what kind of salt I use? Anybody know what kind of salt I use? I just measured, by the way, I just realized. I use sea salt. Yeah, I always use sea salt because it's full of minerals, not the sodium chloride that raises your blood pressure, okay? Sea salt is where to go. All right, let's see what else I've got. We're gonna do a little bit of sweetener in here. Look, if you want to use maple syrup, put maple syrup in here. If you want to use honey, put honey in here. I use honey for medicinal. As you see, I just took a little bit of honey for my throat and it works beautifully. I don't normally use honey unless it's like my husband's birthday cake. I'll put honey in there. Because I'm sugar sensitive, I'll use things like monk fruit or stevia that are made for baking. That are made for baking. You can get it confectioner sugar, the blue one, or the red one is granular. I'll use the confectioner one in some baked goods, but I'll use the granular one in other baked goods. It all depends. Like the ganache that I'm going to put on top of here, I'll use the powdered sugar, just like a regular sugar versus powdered sugar when you'd use either of them. So, and yes, it's cup for cup. So if a recipe calls for this one, and the brand is Lakanto brand. Okay, I really love that brand. Better than most of the other stevia ones, the monk fruit. I'm back. Hi.
Hi.
I don't know what happened there, but yeah, I'm back. I'm back. All right. You want to do a little bit of a close-up on this, and you'll see the avocado doesn't like to mix all that well. The avocado doesn't like to mix all that well, and it's real thick. And that's okay, because that is going to give us a wonderful, thick, amazing brownie. Give me a second. I want to get some of that brownie stuff off of my beaters there. And then there's one more ingredient that I didn't put in here. One more ingredient that's going to give you thick and chewy brownies is gelatin. You do not have to use the gelatin, but if you do use the gelatin, it just makes them a little chewier. Now, when you use gelatin, don't just plop it in, sprinkle it in, and then I'm going to mix it in. If you don't have gelatin, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. This is real thick And that's the way it's supposed to be, real thick, because we want ooey gooey chewy brownies, right? Now, if you want, you can throw chocolate chips in the brownie mix, but you don't have to, okay? Because we're going to put a ganache on the top. Now, I've made them before with the brownie, with the chips inside, and my husband was in love with them. But another friend of mine is like, you don't need them with all the chocolate on the top. But here's a question. Can you ever get enough chocolate? Can you ever get enough chocolate? I don't know about you, but I don't think so. Who here is chocolate? Did we talk about who's self-confessed chocoholics? We talk about that. Self-confessed chocoholics. I have to put my chat back up here because, yeah, me, yeah. Self-confessed chocoholics. Now we can add some chocolate chips in here. Again, you know, as I said, I love jars, so I kind of dump my chocolate chips into jars. The chocolate chips that I love are called Lily's, and I get those at my organic market, and they're sweetened with stevia. Again, no one knows. No one in the house knows that they're sweetened with stevia. So I'm going to mix those in. I need a little bit more horsepower than that one. So we're going to mix it in with my wooden spoon, and we're almost ready to put these in the oven. Almost ready. Okay. So next I'm going to get my glass container, and don't skip this. Use parchment paper, okay? They're real sticky, ooey gooey. You need to use the parchment paper because no amount of grease on the bottom is going to help you lift these up without ruining them. And they're just so good, you do not want to ruin them. And then you can, once they're done, you can take them out using that parchment paper. My sister likes to use wax paper. She doesn't like to spend the money on parchment paper, but then you're cooking wax. We don't want to eat wax. We don't want to cook wax. The parchment paper is a lot nicer. So I would definitely use parchment paper, okay? This is a lot thicker than I normally make it, but look how ooey gooey this is. Doesn't it look luscious? Like you want to eat it right now?
Hey, Tina, quick question. I know this is probably a really stupid question, but
no question.
Lining with parchment paper, you don't spray or do any like greasing of the parchment paper. You just put it in, right?
You know, you can put grease on the bottom. And I've done it both ways, where you put the grease on the bottom and then put the parchment paper on top. And it's the same thing. So why do it? And no, you do not need to put any kind of grease on top of the parchment paper. It will lift right off. It's a good question. It's a very, very good question. Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime. Anytime. And if there's any question in the chat that I'm missing because I'm full of chocolate over here, let me know, Caitlin. And happy to answer those questions. Okay. Yeah, so this, I'm telling you, this brownie, this is something that my family doesn't know that it's the healthy version of a brownie. They just don't know. And yes, it's a lot thicker than you would imagine most brownies are. A little more difficult to move around, but that's okay. That's the joy of it. Because I put the gelatin in there, they're a little even more thicker than you would think. And I'll show you the finished product because I've been making these like once a week, and I'll show them to you. Okay, this is going to go in the oven right now. Regular oven, what is it? 350 for 25 minutes. I'm going to put it in my little convection oven here for 18 minutes. Yeah, cook with parchment paper. It is the best. It is absolutely the best. Okay, so there we go. It's going to go right in the oven. I'll be right back. Now, I'm going to put the broiler on. I'm also going to put the broiler on for the salmon. Now, when those are done, I'm going to make a ganache for them. A ganache is basically you can take heavy cream, or you can do coconut milk. I'm not going to make the ganache. We don't have time for it. And I already made it earlier. You put a 1/4 cup of heavy cream or coconut milk in a pan, heat it up until it's a little boiling, and then turn off the heat, and then throw in a 1/4 cup of chocolate chips. And you'll get this, look at that ganache. If we can go into the close-up camera there. You see that ganache? It's just creamy chocolate fudge that when the brownies come out, I'm going to slather this over the top of the brownies, okay? So that's the ganache. And I was asking my other foodie friend, Christine, do you need the chocolate chips? Do you need the ganache? She goes, oh, yes. So there you go. That is a finished brownie that I like to heat it up a little bit before I eat it because they're even better when they're warmed up, but they're just as good cold right out of the refrigerator. Now, do not store these on the countertop. Store these in the refrigerator in a closed container, in a sealed container. So there we have it, our brownie. You guys ready to make some salmon? Put salmon in the chat if you guys are ready to make some salmon with me. You guys ready to make some salmon? Put salmon in the chat if you guys are ready to make some salmon with me. Got a couple people ready to make some salmon with me. All right. So let me just clear some things out of here so we get our chocolate, even though I got chocolate everywhere, but it's okay. Chocolate salmon. Who wants chocolate salmon? Me? No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing. So if you notice, I took the salmon out at the beginning of the class. Why? Because I wanted the salmon to come to room temperature. Not room temperature, but you don't want it freezing cold from the fridge right into the oven. So 20 minutes out of the fridge is good. All right. Now, the other thing is I love to cook on stoneware. This is from Pampered Chef. It's a stone. I've been using this for, I think, 18 years. I love this stone. I feel like a cave woman when I cook with it. Now, the recipe calls for putting parchment paper down for easy cleanup. I find that cooking on stoneware is easy cleanup because I just put it under hot water and scrape it with my little plastic scraper. And it also cooks very evenly. So you'll find that you won't have to turn your meat around or whatever it is that you are cooking. You don't have to flip it. That's the word I'm looking for, flip it. Okay, so with our salmon, notice I didn't touch it with my hands because then I would have had to go wash my hands again. And yeah, you just don't want to touch anything after you've touched that. So I use my tongs. I'm going to put this over here. And I have to say this, never reuse that plate, okay? Never wash it. Don't throw it away. Just wash it first, okay? Now we're going to make what's going to go on the top. Actually, let's do the asparagus next. Let's do the asparagus and then I'll make the sauce. I love asparagus. Asparagus is so incredibly good for you. And this is how you clean asparagus. You can chop it at the end, but then you might not get the woody piece that is obnoxious and yucky when you eat it. I was watching this, not watching, I was taking this cooking class with Thomas Keller. If anyone knows Thomas Keller, he's a famous chef, owns several French cuisine restaurants out in California. And it floored me what they do for asparagus. He scrapes them with a scraper and then parboils them and then puts them on the plate. Like he gets this little scrubby thing and scrubs each of them to get the wooded pieces off. And I'm like, that's a lot of work. Remember, I'm the lazy inspirational chef and I'm a hungry girl. I want to eat. I don't have time to scrub each of my asparagus, but to each their own, to each their own. You see how easy that is? Just pop those right off. Don't worry, you're not throwing away stuff that's good. It's woody and gets stuck in your teeth, and we don't want that. So this is a really super quick dinner. You throw the asparagus, you throw the salmon in the middle. You don't even have to make this sauce. You can just throw all of this stuff on the top. So I'm going to start with some parsley, some fresh parsley. My mom always has parsley growing in the garden, and I just cannot seem to grow it really well as she can, but I have to buy it. So I'm just going to chop up my parsley, and I'm going to roughly chop it. Who remembers how to hold the knife? Who remembers how to hold the knife? Who remembers how to hold the knife properly without hurting yourself? Who remembers? Anybody? Yeah. 3 fingers around the handle, 1 finger here, the other thumb here, the middle finger butted up against the back, okay? And remember to use the whole knife. Don't just chop straight down. So now I'm going to mince my parsley, and my point is down, and I'm moving my knife all the way around. Okay. I want it minced. It doesn't have to be perfect. Life is messy, as I already said, with the chocolate. I don't know if I have chocolate all over my face now too, but I don't care. I'm known for that. And there we go. Even if you kept these in big pieces and just sprinkled it on top, it's all good. It's all good. It doesn't matter. Now, remember, don't use the blade of the knife to pick up your vegetables that are on your cutting board. Either use the back of the knife or use a scraper like so, because a dull knife is a dangerous knife, and we do not want a dangerous knife in our life, right? Garlic. I just did a lecture on immune health. Who here loves garlic? Put garlic in the chat if you love garlic, okay? Garlic is incredibly important for your life. It boosts your immune system. Get fresh garlic, not the jarred garlic. And if I ruffled some of your feathers, I'm okay with that. The jarred garlic has been high heat pasteurized, and the immune boosting properties out the window. And we need to boost our immune system as much as possible. Now, because I need minced garlic, I'm going to take the cheater's way. By the way, you will never find a garlic press in my mother's house. Never, never, never. Sacrilege. Don't ask me why, because garlic is supposed to be minced by hand. And she doesn't have any gadgets in her house. If I go to her house, like for the summer, I go to the beach house, I bring my knives and I bring the stuff that I cannot live without. Now, I can live without a garlic press because we grew up chopping garlic and mincing garlic, and but who has a garlic press? Put press in the chat if you have a garlic press that you use. Super simple. You see how super simple that is. I think it's also super simple to cut the garlic with a knife. But when you want it minced, much more simple to just do it with a garlic press. Yes, you love your garlic press. Good. Your garlic with capital letters. Good for you. Good for you. Garlic with capital letters. Good. Yeah, use garlic, fresh garlic, guys. I cannot emphasize that enough. Cannot emphasize it enough. But in the summertime, when I get to a farmer's market and I find some fresh garlic, the flavor profile of fresh garlic right from the garden is amazing. I got some seeds that I'm going to plant this year, and I am going to I'm going to grow some garlic. There's something so satisfactory when you grow your own food. So I put some olive oil in there. I'm putting some sea salt in there. I'm going to put some freshly ground black pepper. If you still use the powdered pepper, I guarantee switch over to a pepper grinder. You will never go back. You will never go back ever. Pepper, think about something. Salt enhances the flavor of food. Pepper actually changes the flavor of food. Pepper changes the flavor of food. If you want more lemon out of a lemon, more juice out of a lemon, roll it on your cutting board. Roll it on your cutting board. I have this ancient lemon squeezy thingy that I'm going to use because I like it. There we go. And does anyone here know the difference between a Meyer lemon and a regular lemon? You know what the difference of a Meyer lemon and a regular lemon? Anybody know? Meyer lemons are crossed with a tangerine. So you get this almost orange lemon. And you know how lemons are super pungent and sour? I can actually eat the Meyer lemon, where the regular lemon, no, not happening. Not happening. But I had some Meyer lemons, so I put that in there, and I'm going to put a whole nother regular lemon in there too. Just juice that up. We didn't even have lemon presses growing up. We would just squeeze that lemon between our fingers and grasp any of the seeds with your fingers. That's how you do it. My sister, she has big wide gaps in her fingers, so it doesn't work for her. But anyhow, that's another way that you can do that. Now, let's get a spoon and let's stir all of that up. I think it needs a little bit more olive oil. And there we go. We're just going to pour this over the salmon, and as well as some over the asparagus. Can you guys see this over here? Yeah, okay. I put a whole bunch of parsley because I like parsley. You don't have to put that much parsley on there. I still feel like it needs a little bit more olive oil, a little more drizzle of olive oil. So I drizzled a little bit more. I don't think you can get enough olive oil. And you are getting such immune boosting, brain boosting power from this dish here. It is out of this world. And also parsley detoxes your liver. So eat some parsley. This is ready for the oven. 10 minutes, broil on high. Actually, I'm going to do 8 minutes and then check it. Okay. Okay, Google, 8-minute timer. And then I'm going to check it with an instant read thermometer. Okay. So we'll wait for that to come out. And all right, any questions on the salmon? Any questions on the salmon dish so far? Yeah, they're sweeter. Yeah, they're sweeter. Much nicer. Okay. Okay, let's put that aside. And you guys ready for the next dish? Oops, oopsies. This is my olive oil spray. So what I could have done in the brownie dish is I could have sprayed it with my olive oil spray. It's the only time I use the olive oil spray is when I need to do that in a dish. That's why I took that out. So next, we are going to make some beet hummus. Oh my gosh, who loves hummus? Put hummus in the chat if you love hummus. Put hummus in the chat if you love hummus. Let me see it. Let's put hummus in the chat if you love hummus. Hummus and beets. You love hummus and beets. Now, most hummus is made out of what? Most hummus is made out of chickpeas. You think hummus, you think chickpeas, right? Well, yeah, and you can actually make hummus out of many different things. And the number one thing that I like to make my hummus out of is beets. And just moving some things around so that we have room for our beet hummus, to make our beet hummus here. And excuse me real quick. Garbanzo beans, chickpeas, it's kind of the same thing, but it's all good. And this is what I did. I went to the store and I bought myself some beets that had the greens on it. What would most of you do with these greens? Put it in the chat. What would most of you do with these greens? Saute. Good. Smart people. Very, very smart. What I'll do, I'm not going to do them for you today, but I will strip the leaf off of the stem. I will cut up onions, saute the stems in with the onions and garlic and olive oil and a little hot pepper, and saute that up for about 5 minutes. And then I'll chop up these greens really fine and throw them in afterwards, and maybe saute them in with the onions and the stems for another 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depends on how long it took them to wilt. They don't take that long to wilt. And then I'll have this wonderful sauteed greens to go with my salmon. If I didn't want to do the asparagus, say I didn't have asparagus and I wanted to do that. So that's what I would do with these beet greens. So good. I'm glad that you guys know to do that with the beet greens. Now the beet heads, the bulbs, the roots, what I did is I cut them up. I scrubbed them with a scrubby. I did not peel them. Too much work. Remember, I'm lazy, okay? I scrubbed them with a little scrub brush and rinsed them off under the sink, and then cooked them in my Instant Pot. I love my Instant Pot. Does anybody here have an Instant Pot? Oh, garlic and red pepper flakes. Yes, with the saute. Absolutely. I love my Instant Pot. Beets, you know, I didn't have time. I had to go give a lecture. So I put them in there with about a cup of water and cooked them for 15. I put the Instant Pot on for 15 minutes. And then when I came down they're cooked. The water was still boiling 20 minutes. I mean, that was like 45 minutes later. The water was still boiling when I took the lid off. So what I did is I strained the liquid. Actually, that's more than a cup. It's like 2 cups. I strained the liquid from the beets, and don't throw this away. This is gold. Beets are really good for your heart. So I will put this in my smoothie. I will put this in the fridge, or you can use it in soups. Don't throw this away. I'm telling you, this is gold. Wonderful. My husband is a fanatic when it comes to bicycle racing. And he's always wants to be at the top of his game. And several years ago, he found out that beets are really good for your red blood cells and for your heart. So he found this beet root powder that he puts into his smoothies. How do I know? Because it's all over my counter most mornings. He puts it in his smoothies every single morning. And I said, honey, why don't you just use real beets? Oh, it's too much. Whatever. So I will save this beet water and I'll give it to him for his smoothies, and he'll make his smoothies out of it. Okay, so next, let's get our food processor out. You can do this with a blender. It's just a little more difficult with a blender, and you're gonna have to tamper down a lot more. These were 3 beet heads, and I just cut them up, threw them in there. There we go. So next, what do you like in your hummus? I love garlic in my hummus, but because it's raw, it's not cooked like the salmon is getting cooked. I don't like raw garlic. So I roasted it. Literally, I just took the garlic head and I chopped off just a little tiny piece of the tips and put it in on, of course, my stoneware. Feel like a cave woman. I love it. And roasted my broccoli, my garlic for about, I think 10 minutes. I put it in there, yeah, for 10 minutes. So now I have roasted garlic that I'm going to, look how easy it is to peel too, once you've taken the top off, and put roasted garlic in my beet hummus. Feel free to use raw garlic. You do not have to take that extra step and roast it. That is my preference because I prefer it roasted. Who likes it roasted versus raw in their hummus? Put roasted or raw in the chat. Put roasted or raw in the chat. Put roasted or raw in the chat. Roasted or raw. Who likes roasted or raw garlic in their hummus? And you can use either or. It does not matter. Both. Yeah. There's something with raw garlic that I just cannot handle. When I was a little girl, I don't know if I've told you this story before. I was under the table playing with the kitty cat as opposed to eating, because that was me. I never ate and I played with the cats instead. And my dad reached under, and of course you're going to eat whatever your dad puts in your mouth, right? Because he's your dad. Well, he was a mean dad that day, and he put a piece of raw garlic in my mouth. And from that day, I won't eat raw garlic. I'll eat it only if it's cooked. And I'll eat a lot of it, but it has to be cooked. So I put in, when you cook the garlic, it's a little less pungent and a little less, you get good flavor out of it, but I tend to put more of the roasted garlic. I put a whole big head of roasted garlic in here. As opposed to, if you're going to do it raw, I would put 1 or 2 cloves in there. And personally, I would put both heads in. I just don't want to take the time right now while we're together to do both heads. I can put that in later, but see how easy that is to peel out. Next, you're going to put some lemon in. I have this Meyer lemon, so I'm going to use this Meyer lemon in there as some kind of acid. Now, you don't have to use Meyer lemons, of course. You can use regular lemon. Okay, Google, stop. What was that for, Caitlin? What was that timer for? Was that for the brownies or was that for the salmon? Mm-hmm. That was for the salmon. Thank you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. See, I need a sous chef. I appreciate that. Can you fly out to my house? I know you're far out west, but you're going to have to fly over next time. Okay, so let's go check the salmon real quick, and then we'll get back to our hummus. 145 is what I want my salmon to be at, temperature-wise. And it looks done, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to get, if you don't have an instant read thermometer, go get one. This is phenomenal because you don't have to butcher your meat to find out if it looks done. You can be absolutely sure that it's done by putting your thermometer in there. And I could already feel as I poked through that the fish did not feel done. It's at 62 degrees and it needs to be at 145. So back in the oven it goes. Now, yes, it does cook a little bit more when it's out of the oven, but it needs a lot more, so you can tell. It looks almost, the asparagus looks done, but that was a fat piece of salmon. And in retrospect, I should have cut it in half lengthwise and separated it, and it would have cooked a little bit quicker. It'll cooked a little bit quicker. There's 3 minutes on the brownies. I think this needs a probably, you're like, Tina, how do you know? I don't know. I figure things out as I go along. So I'm putting that in for another maybe 6 minutes. We'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens. Okay, where were we? We were with lemon, right? We need a little bit more lemon in our hummus. You said that lemon didn't look good. And I know the instructions are, we get some pits coming in there. We can't have that. That will make it bitter. We don't want bitter. We don't want a bitter hummus. We want a real creamy, smooth, delicious hummus. And I got lemon juice squeezing everywhere. Okay, so I've got another, that first lemon didn't have hardly any juice in it. Another pit. And I guess you get that every once in a while. Okay. There we go. Lots of lemon juice. I like mine lemony. If you don't like it that lemony, put less. Put more if you like it even more lemony. And I'm throwing everything else into the compost. If you see me throwing things over there, that's my compost pile for my garden. Put things back into the earth. Put things back into the earth. I go to Italy and I visit my relatives, and do you know that they cannot put, they call it umido, anything that is moist, they cannot put in the regular trash. They have to, they're obliged to dig a hole in the ground, and anything that is moist, whether it's like grease left over or food scraps or whatever, they have to dig a hole and put all of their scraps into that hole. They cannot throw it into the regular trash. It's a small country and they have a trash problem, unfortunately. So, but I've always composted because it's good for the garden. Next in my hummus, I'm going to put some cashews. I had unsalted cashews that I soaked in some water for a couple of hours, and I'm just going to dump that water out. I don't want to save that water. I'm just going to dump that water out and throw my cashews right in there. The cashews are what's going to help make it creamy, very creamy. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to put some tahini in there. Does anyone know what tahini is made from? Does anybody know what tahini is made from? You know, I don't measure, so I just kind of squirt it in there. Anybody know? Yeah, sesame seed, fresh sesame seeds, kind of like peanut butter from peanuts. I don't know why they don't call this sesame seed butter. They call it tahini. Interesting, isn't it? So we're going to put a little bit of salt. I'm going to put about probably a teaspoon of salt. Sea salt, of course, sea salt. And what else are we going to use? Freshly cracked pepper. Freshly cracked pepper. You always want it freshly cracked. That is the sound of the brownies that are done. We're going to check on those in a second. We'll go check on those in a moment. Okay. Let's see what we have here. Lock that in. And we're going to go ahead and process it. Be back in just a second. Oops. Make sure I put all the ingredients in. Pepper, garlic, salt, tahini. Oh, olive oil. I missed olive oil. No, there's something missing in there. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so delicious. I got both heads of garlic in there, the roasted garlic. And I just need to smash down the sides a little bit. And this is almost done. And we could always taste test it to see If it needs more salt, if it needs more pepper, if it needs anything, we can do a little taste test. So let's do a little taste test here. Taste is amazing, but it needs to process just a little longer. I'll be right back. Oh, yes, it is done. Look how beautiful that is. Look how beautiful that is. I'm going to be careful with the blade of your food processor. We do not want to hurt our fingers. So take that blade out first, scrape it off. And if there's extra stuff on it, you can't get it off, just don't hurt yourself trying to get it off, okay? It's not worth it. And I have a tendency of being a little haphazard in the kitchen, so I've just taken a step back in my 50s, and I'm like, watch out. I don't just throw this in the sink. I put this in a place where I know I won't hurt myself, accidentally go into the sink and cut myself with it, okay? So be careful of that. And this is so, look at those colors. Now, there's something about red vegetables. That's our salmon. We're going to go check our salmon in a second. But I'll talk to you about red vegetables. They have something in it called, now, of course, it's good for the heart. It's good for the red blood cells. But they also have free radical destroyers called proanthocyanidins. I know it's a very long word. I practiced it for years. And these proanthocyanidins go in and destroy all of the free radicals. And so eat the rainbow, eat the rainbow, eat the rainbow, which we're going to have a little bit of a rainbow here in just a second. Let me go check that salmon. I'll be right back. Make that look pretty. And okay, stop. That's got to go off. Oh my gosh, this looks absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm going to check the temperature. I could feel the difference in the fish this time. And I've gotten up to 100-something degrees. So it probably needs to just sit for a few minutes, but you see how it's nice and crispy on the top? And oh, you can even hear the sizzle. I have to put this down so I don't burn myself. But this is ready. Sit for 10 minutes and then serve it on a plate. Serve it on a plate, but definitely let it sit for 10 minutes because you just want it to settle. Don't just get right into it. Not because it's going to burn you, but you want it to settle for a few minutes before you go and eat it. Okay, you guys having a good time? I hope you guys are having a good time. Put good time in the chat if you're having, or fun. Put fun in the chat if you're having fun with me today. If you're having a little fun with me today, put fun in the chat. It looks delish. Looks delish. So you can serve this hummus with any kind of vegetable that you like. Whatever you like to dip into your hummus, you can dip into your hummus. I like lettuce boats. We can use some lettuce boats here, and you can dip with those. And you can also, remember I said eat the rainbow, get these little baby peppers. If you haven't eaten these and gotten these yet, get some. There was many years in my life I was not even able to digest peppers because I had Lyme disease and my digestive system had a hard time with peppers. Let's put it that way. Had a hard time digesting them. But if you get these little peppers, you don't even have to cut them open and most of them are much smaller than this one. You can just chomp it up. Now this one's full of seeds, but we'll get rid of those seeds. And then you can use these as a dip. Look at that, a chip. Instead of using chips, you can easily just use these little peppers. See, look at this little pepper, hardly has any seeds in it. Hardly has any seeds where that other one had a ton of seeds. It's all good. But look at the rainbow here. Look how pretty. We'll make that, we'll do that like, we'll do it like so. Like so, like so. We'll put these in the middle here, and we'll put some more romaine hearts around the sides. And oh, I'm so happy. Look how pretty that is. Look how pretty that is. Look at that. We've got our hummus, our beet hummus with lettuce boats or little pepper boats. And this is so incredibly delicious and good for you. And that's what we want. We want foods that are good for us and healthy, that keep us healthy, vibrant, and free for the rest of our lives. Let's check on those brownies. And while I'm doing that, go ahead and type in the chat. Type in the chat for me. What have you found most valuable about our time together today? What is something you're just going to take away and go, yes, I'm going to implement that? Tell me, what is that one thing or two things that you found most valuable about our time together today? I'm going to go check those brownies. What have you found most valuable about our time together today? What have you found most valuable? Can you read those out to me, Caitlin, while I'm doing something here? Oh, and Caitlin, can you also put in there the, I have a free gift for everybody. I have a free gift for everyone, and that's my Joyful Gut Reboot ebook. I have an ebook that, let's see what we have here. I'll use these recipes again, but not go crazy with the sea salt and the brownies. You put too much. I love salt and chocolate. Chocolate and salt go together. Snapping asparagus is supposed to cutting it. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Wanting to use the sheet pan dinners again, like the fish in the sea. Yeah, it's so easy to do it that way. Now the brownies are out of the oven, and if you see, it's a little on the hot side, but give me a second. And I cook these in the conventional oven versus convection oven / air fryer / everything else from Emerald. And I was able to lift it out, and I burned it just a teeny bit. It's because it's that convection oven, and you have to go lower heat in the convection oven, which is a mess, and less time. So you see, when I cook this in the regular oven, I can slip this whole brownie pan right off. There we go. Throw this piece away. And then wait for this to cool. You wait for this to cool, and then you put the ganache on top and then serve it. Just wait for it to cool about 10 minutes. I don't want to put the ganache on it just yet. Okay. Probably invest in some stoneware. Girl, I love it. Is that girl? I don't know. Yeah. I love stoneware. I'm telling you, I feel like a cave woman when I cook. I've got my wooden cutting board. I've got my stone. Even this is made out of terracotta. I love this Mexican bowl. I just feel like I'm closer to the earth. I think that's the way I want to say it. Okay, so here we have it. We've got our brownie with the ganache that, yes, you can eat every day. We have our salmon. I would plate it for you, but again, I want that to sit for a few more minutes before I cut that open. Before I cut it open, I want that to sit for just a little bit longer. One sheet dinners, guys, make your life easy. Make it easy, but always have a vegetable and a protein. And of course, our beet hummus that I cannot wait to dig into. Cannot wait. So yeah, probably invest in some. So thank you so much. Caitlin put in the chat the link to my YouTube channel. I forgot about that one. TinaMcDermott.com/cooking show. Also the link to my free ebook. So if you just type in TinaMcDermott.com/JG, which stands for Joyful Gut. This is Tina's Joyful Kitchen, and that my book is Tina's Joyful Gut. So there we have it. I want to say thank you from the top to the bottom to the middle, my entire heart. Thank you for being here today. And until next time, namaste.